Hey guys, it's been a long time since I posted, and I just want to show you what I'm doing now. And I just got this Hideout 176BH from the dealership a few weeks ago and took it out on a 2-week trip. And one of the shortcomings that I found is I think it needs a filtered water system for drinking water. So I'm going to install a reverse osmosis system in it, and I'm going to show you what I'm doing. I ordered this FSTFC 5-stage reverse osmosis drinking water system off of Amazon. I'll put a link for it down below in the description. And this thing, from every site I could find it on, said it had a 4-gallon tank, but the picture actually shows a really small holding tank, and that's the reason I ordered it for the travel trailer. I wanted a really small holding tank. And I think it is a 0.4 gallon holding tank, even though the specs on the websites all say it's a 4-gallon tank. So anyways, I'm going to unbox it and show you guys what's in it, and then show you where I'm going to place it in the RV here. So I opened the box, and it looks like it has a nice amount of tubing supplied. Looks like a nice little couple of filters in here. First stage, third stage it says. And the second stage, I think this is a carbon filter. The first two are sediment filters. And this is a post filter, post coconut carbon filter. A nice little wrench to open the filter housings. And this thing is tiny, that's what I love about it. So let's open this up. So the first stage, or third stage, is a 1 micron sediment filter, and the first stage is a 5 micron sediment filter. The second stage is a granular activated carbon filter. And then the membrane on this thing is 100 gallon per day, so it should produce water really quickly. Comes with lots of little fittings, a T, couple of couplers, couple of right angle couplers, and a couple of right angle street couplers, and a bunch of locks, some Teflon tape, a valve that looks like it has 3/8 adapters and 1/2 inch adapters on it, which we are going to need the 1/2 inch adapters on this thing. Well, actually the main connection looks like it's 1/2 inch, which is awesome. That's going to come in handy. This is a valve for the top of the tank. A saddle connection for the drain pipe, which we're not going to need. And I'm going to have to figure out what this piece is for. And what these pieces are for. This looks like a tool for the quick connectors, and it has a stainless steel faucet. I'm going to have to stop filming so I can untie this little knot here. Okay, got it untied. Fairly nice looking little faucet. Decent style on it. Baggie that it came with. Alright, this is the nut for the bottom of the faucet. Some instructions. And our holding tank, which definitely is no way a 4-gallon tank, which is awesome. The model number on this is RO-3.2GA, and it's fairly small. Anyways, that's what's in the box, and I'm going to show you where I'm going to put this thing next. So on the back right hand corner of the 176 BH is where the bunks reside, and I've taken the mattress pad off of the bottom bunk and removed the 4 screws holding this wood sheet in, and underneath this is where everything in the travel trailer exists for functionality of the water system and electrical system. Alright, so a quick overview of what's in this little area that resides underneath the bottom bunk. This is where our 30 amp power cord goes. 25 feet of it gets pushed into this little box. This is our freshwater holding tank. It's 21 gallons. That is our water heater. That holds 6 gallons. This is our pressure pump, which takes the freshwater tank and pressurizes the system with it. This mess is the wiring in the trailer, kind of messy. This is the back of the fuse panel and circuit breaker panel, which this is the front side of it. So in here, this is our city water connection coming from the outside. So this is where you connect pressurized water to, and that's also the outlet side of the pressure pump. So if you follow the lines around, you can see that. And this is where we're going to connect our input to our RO system. And then you can see there's lots and lots of space in here. And that's why I want to put the RO system in here. So let me go ahead and stop filming, and I'm going to get the stuff and stuff it in here and see where it fits. Alright, after playing around with this for a couple minutes, I decided I think I want the filter assembly mounted on this front wall. I'm going to cut a little strip of 1/4 inch plywood and just mount it across here, and then mount that to it. So it'll be sitting like this roughly. And then the water heater, or the water tank, I'm going to put next to the water heater. I'm going to just zip tie it in there. And I think that's how I want to have this. And let's go ahead and get that started. Okay, so I made the mounting bracket for the filter assembly, and I zip tied the filters to the bracket because, you know, when you're going down the road towing your travel trailer, things get really bouncy because you're in a rolling earthquake. So anyways, this should keep it nice and connected to the bracket when we hit some big bumps on the highway. Okay, so it's really nice to have a nice filtered water when you're out on the road, because you don't want to keep buying bottled water to have drinking water. So that's a really nice thing to have the reverse osmosis system for. But what I want to do with this is use it in 2 different modes, and let me explain the 2 modes to you. So the first mode I want to use when we're parked either at home getting ready to go on a road trip, or we're at a pay site where we have a spigot that we can hook up to the trailer. I want to use it to use the RO output to fill our freshwater tank. And then when that's full, I'll switch it over so it fills the little pressure tank, so we have drinking water available at the faucet to drink RO water. The second mode, which is really important, is after we've filled this tank with reverse osmosis water, is when we're boondocking. I am going to have the exhaust from the RO system, the drain, recirculate right back into the holding tank. That way we're not wasting water. So what we're doing is we're taking water from the holding tank and going through the pressure pump, and then we're going through the filters, the 3 filters, the 1 micron, 5 micron, and the carbon filter. We're taking the super filtered water and putting it into the drinking water tank, and then we're taking the exhaust and dumping it right back into our holding tank, which eventually that'll just concentrate any minerals that are in the holding tank. But since it's already been filtered to the RO system, it should be pretty minimal. So we're going to need some extra valves to do this. And I think right now this is what I need. I'll figure it out in a little bit for sure after I get everything hooked up the way I want it. But we're going to need a 1/2 inch to quick connect, 1/4 inch, and then we're going to need 3 extra quick connect valves and an extra T. I'll put some links down below for these if you want to copy the system. But so the first mode where we're going to fill the holding tank is we're going to take water from our tap, which is going to be hooked up to the city water connection, and then we're going to run it through the RO system, and the drain will be set up through a T to go through a little hole that I'm going to drill into the side of the water connection with a 1/4 inch valve with a 1/4 inch line. So this will be coming out through a T. The one that goes into the holding tank here will be shut off. The one going out to the wall will be turned on. That way you can connect, when you're sitting at home, the exhaust line and run it to a 5-gallon bucket and then use that to water your plants because they love that mineralized water. The second mode will be where we're recirculating back into this tank. The exhaust going out to that outer wall will be turned off, and then the exhaust will be turned on going back into this tank. So let me hook it up and show you what it looks like when it's all done, and we'll start filling the holding tank with some reverse osmosis water just to test it. Alright, so the first step I'm going to do is I'm going to take this hose off for the vent to the tank, and I'm going to take this L-shaped 1/2 inch to 1/2 inch barb off. I'm going to put this adapter in here, connect the barb back there, and then connect the barb back to this. Let me do that. So this is what it looks like after it's connected. We have the 1/2 inch to the 1/4 quick connect, back to a 1/2 inch, and we plumbed in the 1/2 inch with the barbed elbow for the vent back in. And then next thing is I'm going to go outside and drill a 1/4 inch hole for the other portion of the exhaust to go out the water connection area. So this is the water connection port, and I just drilled a 1/4 inch hole right here, and I have a piece of quick connect tubing. This isn't what came with the kit, but it's the same stuff as far as size, and the 1/4 inch pipe fits right through there, just so you can see it. And it'd be easy to just keep that in there without having to seal it because it's a nice firm fit. Okay, before I plumb this, I'm going to let you know I had a little idea. I'm going to cut a panel access point inside of this piece of wood that goes underneath the bunk bed and make a little panel that I can access. So now I have to take it apart to get to the valves. So I'm going to make a little platform here that the valves all mount on. But what I have determined is I do need another T at this point to bring the filtered RO water into this so I can dump it into the tank. So I'm going to add one more T, and I'm going to plumb this up and leave enough length in the hoses so that I can put the valves all up here on the platform. Alright, for those of you that have not used these quick connects, I just want to show you real quick how to use them. So you use a razor blade and you cut the edge of the hose as square as you can, and then to connect the pipe to the fitting you just push in, and I'll leave it so you can see this mark. You push in until it stops. It doesn't go in very far, but when you pull back out you can see that there's a little lip here, and each one of these should come with a locking system. So you put the little clip in that little lip there, and that's how it goes together. Now if you make a mistake and you want to reconnect it, you just push in until that lip is gone, and you hold it and you pull the pipe out. It's pretty easy. So push it in. You can see that it's locked, and you push in again and you hold that little lip in and pull the pipe out. So that's how those work. Okay, before I plumb in the faucet, I want to show you, before this thing gets to be such a mess that you can't tell what's going on, what I've got here is I have all three valves that I want roughly in the same place, so I can make a little platform for them to mount to. But what I have is I have a hole drilled in the outside of the trailer where the water port is, and I ran a 1/4 inch line through it. You can see it comes back to this valve here, which goes to this T, which comes back, if you follow it, to the waste connection on the reverse osmosis. That was labeled drain water before. Also keep one of these plugs, because that's what we're going to use on the outside of the trailer to plug that connection outside. And then off that same T that comes off the drain water, we go to another valve, which I have closed, which goes to that connection. There's a T here, and it goes to the connection into the vent of the tank, which I need to open that valve, make sure it stays open. That valve we should never have to close, hopefully. Let's see. And then also from that T, we have another valve which goes to another T, but that goes into what was labeled tank. This connection was labeled tank, and that remaining half of that T goes to the tank. As you can see, I've installed all the clips, so they're all locked. Let's see, is there anything I missed? I think we have the tank coming to the T, comes to the connection that was labeled tank, and then it's teed off to a valve, which goes to a T into the vent of the tank. So this valve would be open when we're filling the freshwater tank with reverse osmosis water, and then the waste valve going outside of the vehicle would be open, and then the waste valve that goes to the tank would be closed. Okay, so let me go outside and show you what the connection outside looks like. So I saved that little connector that was in the drain water, and I have it plugged into this little 90-degree quick connect connector, which is connected to the other end of that hose that's connected to the drain valve. So when I want to use this, I need to push this in and release it, and then I'll stick another hose in here, and then drop this hose into a 5-gallon bucket. That way I can fill a 5-gallon bucket with the wastewater from the RO system. As you can see, the bottom bunk back wall is connected to where the bathroom is, which makes it my decision to mount the faucet in the bathroom sink an easy one, because as you can see also there's not much countertop space in here. So what I'm going to do is mount the faucet right here in this soap dish, since I have 2 soap dishes. But you can see the connection to the other side where the bunk is. This is right through this connection here. So it'll be an easy route for the hose to go through. I'm going to drill a hole here, mount the faucet up, and plumb it in and show you. So here's what it looks like with the faucet installed. I would really like to have the faucet on the left side just for ergonomics, but the problem is where this faucet handle was, it wouldn't be real convenient over here. I mean, you would have to have it like sticking out into the sink if you wanted to operate it this way, or it'd be touching the handle here based on where you had to drill the hole in the soap dish. So anyways, it's mounted on the right side for that reason. And then that made it a little more difficult because there's a vent for the drain system right there where I had to come up. So I put a right angle connector on the base of the faucet and then ran the hose down through the wall. And then it comes out this way That's that white hose there, and you follow it up and around, and it goes to the output of this post-coconut carbon filter. So it gets one more stage of filtering before it goes to the faucet. And then the last thing I need to do before I can test the system out is connect the input, the raw water input. And that's going to be easy to do because they include these little nice screw-on connectors, I believe are 1/2 inch. We'll find out in a minute. Might have to use one or the other. And then we'll just tee into right here. So let's go ahead and try that out, and then we're going to test the system. And then I need to make a little platform for these valves to mount onto, and cut a hole in this wood sheet and then make a little cover for that. Okay, so I'm pressurizing the system. This is what that one connection looks like, where the 1/2 inch threaded connection went on for the input to the RO system. Anyways, I'm pressurizing the system. I'm just going to let it pressurize so that I can see if anything is leaking anywhere. The only thing I have on right now is the exhaust going outside, and I don't have the fill to the freshwater tank full. I do have the valve for the tank open, since one of the things I'm going to do is let that fill completely up and then flush this charcoal filter, because usually the first time you turn these things on when you have a charcoal filter is you get black stuff out of it. It's just the little pieces of charcoal coming through the filter system. You just wash it out. So flush it with one tank. It'll be nice and clean. And let's go outside and take a look and see how the exhaust line looks. So as you see, I have the yellow line plugged into the exhaust port, and that goes into a 5-gallon bucket. And as you can see, it's dumping out water. I'll go get a TDS meter and we'll measure what the exhaust is compared to the input. So before I test anything, this is what I meant by flushing out the carbon filter. That black stuff is coming out of the carbon filter. So we'll flush the system thoroughly before we actually test anything. Alright, getting ready to test the water quality. I have my water quality test kit here. Anyways, I want to make a real quick note about the inline regulator that I had coming on the inside. With this in series with the water coming in, this is a 40 to 50 psi regulator. I'm sure it's probably sitting closer to the 40 psi. I was only producing about 1 gallon per hour of reverse osmosis filtered water. I took this out and I was producing probably 3 to 4 gallons per hour, which was a reasonable production rate with this out of the system. The maximum pressure I was getting here was probably about 55 psi, but what I'm going to have to do is get an adjustable inline regulator for this setup now. So I'm going to have to throw this in the box and just get an adjustable regulator. Anyway, so on to water quality. Let's see, I got my TDS meter here, and this cup is from the RO faucet. Let's go ahead and see what we're going to get. Looks like we're getting about 5 parts per million in the filtered water. Yep, 5 parts per million. So let's go ahead and dump that in the drain. This faucet should be the incoming water from my water source right now. I'm going to run that for about maybe 30 seconds or so, maybe 15 seconds, and then we'll fill up the cup here. And this is our incoming water. Oh, I guess I gotta get the probes in the water. So we're running at about 168 parts per million on the incoming water. So the filter is working pretty good. Let me go get a cup from the exhaust port and see how concentrated it is on the exhaust. I'm going to stop filming and go get a cup from that. So I went outside and got a cup of water from the exhaust port. I do expect this to be more concentrated than what's in the incoming line because that's what the RO element is supposed to do. And here we are. You can see the output port of the RO element is the exhaust port of it is more concentrated. It's 220 parts per million roughly. So the RO system is working the way it's supposed to. Alright, the next step for me is to test this system in boondocking mode and see how well that works and see what it does to what's in the holding tank. So I'm going to go ahead and try that next. Also, I'm going to measure the capacity of the holding tank and see what that actually is, because I do not believe the 4-gallon spec that's on the website. So anyways, I'll catch you guys in a bit. Okay, so I'm running in boondocking mode, which means that I'm running the water from the freshwater holding tank through the RO system, filter system, taking the exhaust drain water from that RO system and running it back into the freshwater holding tank, and then taking the filtered output of that system and putting it into the RO holding tank. So let's test the quality of the water going into the freshwater, not freshwater tank, but the RO holding tank. So I have my total dissolved solids meter here, and we'll plug it into the water. And let's see what we're getting. We're getting about 2 parts per million, which, you know, it's on the low end of the meter. So I would believe it's probably measuring correctly when you pull the meter out. Get 0 parts per million. Back in, 2 parts per million. So I'm pretty happy with that result. Let's go over to the bottom bunk and show you what I did. Okay, so this is the bottom bunk wood cover that goes over the plumbing and electrical system. What I did is I just drilled 3 1-inch holes into the cover, and then I pencil wrote on here reverse osmosis to freshwater tank, drain to exterior, drain to freshwater tank. And then I just put both modes on here that I'm going to use it in, just so I just have a quick reference to see what mode we're in. With the valves horizontal like this, they're off, and with it vertical like this, they're on. So for the freshwater tank fill, it would be on, off. And then for boondocking mode, which is the mode it's in right now, you'd be off, off, and then on. Lift this cover up. To mount the valves, I just took a piece of 2x4 and ripped it on the table saw, about a 1/2 inch thick. You could probably just get a 1x2 and do the same thing. But I mounted it at a level where these valves, when they're sitting on it, is below the top of this point, so that when the cover is on it, it's not interfering with the valve operation. And then I just drilled 2 holes on each side of the valves and ran a zip tie through them to hold the valves in place. So you can see they move a little bit, but they're not going anywhere. Alright, as for the RO holding tank, I measured the capacity of it at 1 1/4 gallons. So that takes the questions out of that on the size of that tank. And then for mounting it, I ripped a piece of 1/2 inch plywood and just mounted it to the horizontal structure there, and then to the floor. And then I'm going to put a strap around the tank to hold it in place. So I don't currently have those straps right now, so I'm going to put that strap on when I get it. But I thought going forward with the system, maybe adding an additional filtration step, which would be in the city water connection. In line with it, add a UV filter system that runs off 12 volts. Because when you're in a campground, you're uncertain as to the water quality, whether there's biological material in the water. So that will kill that off and keep it out of your freshwater lines. Alright, a final thought on this system is when you're in boondocking mode, this little pump is cycling on and off like every 15 to 20 seconds just to run the water through the RO system and try and fill this tank. Once this tank, this little pressure tank is full, there's a little valve assembly, I don't know if you can see it in here, that determines that tank is full, and it'll shut off the water flowing through the RO system. Kind of annoying listening to that thing cycling on and off, but same thing when you're using any of the water in the travel trailer. So anyways, hope you guys found this video useful. If you did, please like the video and then subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.